Welcome back to the Tidy Urban Hanger. This is Mike, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to save food at the grocery store. Save on food at the grocery store. But it's not just that. It's more of what foods to avoid. What foods are a waste of money. Some stuff's just way too expensive and it's considered a luxury. Some stuff is highly palatable food that will never fill you up and satisfy you. So I'm going to go through this. Now, a lot of these tips I got from my wife. A lot of this has to do with my wife has done so much great stuff with fitness since 2020 and health and diet and all that stuff. Don't use the word diet, by the way, unless you're saying that's your dietary regimen. No, you should never be on a diet. Never be on a diet. You should always just try to eat healthy. It's a lifestyle. But I'm going to go through this. A lot of people have asked about this, but there are people on Facebook that I see these comments like I can't afford to eat. I got to tap into savings just to pay for groceries and all this kind of stuff. But if I were to go look at their groceries, I would say 80% of that stuff you shouldn't be buying in the first place. Those are luxury goods. You don't need those. It's not to help sustain life. And so some people are going to be mad at me about talking about this. But the reality of it is, you know, what good is it to have spent 30 years collecting all this stuff and die tomorrow because you're not eating right or healthy? And what good is it to spend all your money on food and bad food and unnecessary food and have no budget for collecting, or, I mean, not even just collecting, for other things? Maybe you want to buy a new car. Maybe you want new clothes or something like that. But this video should be helpful. And if you really take my principles and you apply them to your life, then great. This will not be all-encompassing, though, because of the fact that I can't cover all, 35,000 products that are in a grocery store. So with that, I'm going to hit some major groups of food, give major ideas on how to save money. What I've done since I can remember. This is a lot of this stuff, and a few things we added later on, kind of like there's going to be like a cheat code hack not everybody can use. Dear me. We'll talk about this some more coming up. Alright, so welcome to the Tidy Urban Hanger. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like and all that fun stuff. But this is sort of content I've never made on this channel before, and I'm going to make a few other videos going forward, depending on how well this does. If people like this, if it's helpful, and very brutally honest, but I do plan on doing something around the 1st for fitness and health, and I just got back from my jog, so all the synapses are firing, and I like thinking about this stuff. So, first thing I want to say, if you want to save some money on your food bill, and all these people out here complaining about their food bill and food's so expensive, these chips, Doritos, all that stuff skyrocketed in price, right? Do you want me to tell you the cheapest way to get chips? Don't buy any of this not fit for human consumption, absolute garbage. Your body does not use this effectively. It turns it straight to fat, doesn't use it for energy. This is garbage. This is trash. The FDA needs to ban this from the stores. That's how I feel about this. I do not buy this trash. Yes, my wife buys it for my kids. It's in the house. I avoid it. Sometimes I end up eating some, but let me tell you this. When you open a bag of chips, do you eat 6 and that's the portion, and I'm not going to have any more till tomorrow? No, you eat 20, 30, 40 of them. You don't even know how many you eat. And guess what? You're not full and you don't have energy. You're sluggish because this is not fuel for your body. It is trash. And so you might save $500 to $1,000 a month stopping buying trash. Now this is, I think I have a better picture of this, but getting into the same thing with these sweets, and this is trash. This is what's called super ultra luxury indulgent food. And that's what I'm calling it. What most people call it is highly palatable food with zero nutritional value. And here's the thing. You're buying food for sustenance, to live. You're not buying food as a hobby. That's that. So the reality of it is, I don't buy any of this trash. I keep this trash out of my house the best I can. Sometimes my wife does, but I try my hardest not to eat it because it's going to go straight to fat, not going to be energy, and you're not going to be full, and you're going to want to eat again in 20 minutes. That's all there is to it. So that's my first point. All these people that are saying, it's so expensive to buy food, and you look in their cart and all they have is garbage. There's no real food in their cart. And the garbage, for whatever reason, has gone up exponentially. Have you seen a chocolate bar for $4. A Hershey 6-pack's $8 now. Used to be $4. And I do apologize for the fuzzy pictures. These are older pictures. I thought they were better than this, but whatever. I'm going to roll with it. This is eye of round steak. That's real meat, real food. And yes, they do pump it with dyes, so it looks better. One thing you realize is that as the dyes seep out, it starts turning dark. It starts turning into what it really looks like. See, they dye it so it looks attractive. But without the dyes, it looks regular. So people are like, it's rotten when the dye seeps out of it. No, it's not. That's the real color of food, the real color of meat. The dye, the red dye, and in itself isn't good for you. But anyway, if it's seeped out and you buy it on clearance, you actually buy a healthier product. And usually about $20, I get enough to feed either the whole family or to feed myself for a full week. For $20, that's normal price, but I like to get sirloin. Here goes sirloin. Again, I said old pictures. The one I bought, I bought it yesterday, and I'm eating it tonight. Yeah, I ate it tonight. And I'll show the picture of my meal. I got it for $24 and some change. So roughly my steak for my meal was $4. But anyway, you get it when it goes on clearance. And here's the key trick and tip to save money. You find out when your grocery store, your butcher, or whatever is going to mark that stuff down. And for me, it's a particular time every day. And I know when it is. And I'm not going to share it because I don't want other people in my area trying to get over on me on my meats. But that's enough for me to eat, well, basically for 2 weeks on some steak. I don't eat it every night, though. So I'm going to say I don't eat it every night. So I'm going to show you what I do. I split it into, one goes into a freezer bag and I freeze it, half of it. The other half I put away and I cook it up. And that's 3 days worth of steak for me. I could have steak for the whole family. My family doesn't really like steak that much. And last time I cooked it for them, they acted like it was the worst meal they've had all week. Let's go eat some garbage at McDonald's. And I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Let's try to eat healthy here. But also, when you eat this, I was full and I didn't need to eat anything else the rest of the night. That is a huge savings. And you think, Mike, you're supposed to tell us how to have a ton of food and for $80 or something like that. Well, you know what? That's not exactly how the world works. If you're like me and you kind of gave up eggs for almost a year, you can go back to eggs again because they're back down. They're not back down to the super lows. Like Sam's had them as low as like $3 for 2 18-packs, but $3 for 1 18-pack. Still, we got a ways to go. But the national average numbers, if you look at the top there, it's $1.97 for a dozen, and they were running 8 for a dozen. So it's down 75%. Go back to eating eggs. Eggs are very healthy for you. A lot of good things in it. So don't worry. I don't worry so much about what a lot of these people say about eggs and the cholesterol and all that kind of stuff. Yes, there is a concern there if you're eating it with a bunch of other crap. But eggs are very, very important staple to it. And the other thing about the price of eggs coming down is they use eggs in about 80% of products for other types of foods and for food processing, all that kind of stuff. At low price of eggs is really good for going forward in the future. What really kicked this series off for me was to show people how to get ground beef for a good price. People are telling me they're paying $8 or $10 a pound for ground beef. Now, granted, if you're in California or New York, you probably are spending more, even if you do buy the 10-pound chub, like I do, like my wife does. And I will have to say, most of these savings tips are from my wife, directly from my wife. So I'm gonna say that and get that out there, be honest. But she will buy the 10-pound chub, break it up into 1.5-pound increments, freeze, I think it gets to 8? So she'll freeze 7 of them, and we'll use one for our meal. And that way we make basically a 2 batch of whatever she's making that requires hamburger meat. And then it feeds the whole family. And it feeds the whole family for $4.30 a pound. So $6 plus whatever the other stuff. So usually about $8 a meal. Most of our meals roughly between $8 and $12 to feed our entire family of dinner. A family of 4. Pretty much every day it's between $8 and $12. The other thing is to know the times to shop, not the times, just the times they clearance stuff out for meat, but knowing the times to shop that the lowest budget price stuff's available. Like around the 1st, a lot of time, 1st to the 3rd, a lot of the cheaper stuff is going to be gone. and then you get closer to the eighth. Then, and I was looking for some ham that we needed for a particular recipe, and I had to buy the more expensive version because look how the whole pork section is just wiped out for the most part. So I'm not a huge fan of potatoes, but my wife is, and now my wife, she does a lot of stuff with health and fitness for herself, and she's done a really great job. It started in 2020 where she really was on top of it, and she has done a really good job since then, and so I get a lot of tips from her. But one thing about this is that these potatoes that are the $2.47 versus the $5 bag or however much but 5 pounds of it, these are size variants. These do not fit a certain particular size. If you're wanting to make like baked potatoes, generally around 8 ounces for a baked potato. Some of these are going to be like 4 ounces or 5 ounces, and usually smaller than the 8 ounces. And with that, perfect for making mashed potatoes or even making a smaller baked potato or something along those lines. $2.47 yields 10 to 14 potatoes. And I was thinking about making a video of recipes, how to make stuff with 24 years of culinary experience. It's just all this stuff's so easy to me, but most people don't have all this. But get a fork, poke some holes in, obviously wash it, poke some holes in it, wrap it in a paper towel, microwave 5 minutes, you have yourself a baked potato. Simple, easy, fast, or you can cook it in the oven for an hour, coat it in some margarine and some seasoned salt. But truly, I don't put any of this stuff on it. I just bare bone, chop it up. And my uncle used to eat them raw. He lost a lot of weight eating raw potatoes. Next is the rotisserie chicken. The rotisserie chicken is a loss leader for Walmart, Sam's, Costco. They specifically put it in the very back of the building. Now Walmart's are putting them up front because they're charging $6 for like 2.3 pounds, but you get 3 pounds for $5, which does make it a loss leader for Sam's. The thing about it is that it tastes good. It's great. They inject it with some sort of serum to give it a bunch of flavor, and it's not the healthiest part of it. And this isn't the healthiest chicken in the world. But here is the thing. Now, I'm going to get into talking about this later, but I'm going to say this. You let it sit overnight. When you eat it the next day, most of that stuff has seeped out of it. It is a lot drier. It's a lot healthier. And I will, all this stuff's like top of mind because I'm going to be making the first of the year video about health and food and fitness and all that kind of stuff and goals. That's something I'm going to do. And I don't like basing all this stuff on it's the first to do it. Why not work on it right now? So the last meat tip I have, and we'll circle back to some meat tips in my last tip. You'll get to see that. But last meat tip I have is if you have hunters in the family like we do, I mean, we eat deer meat a lot. We eat deer meat all the time. And so I showed you stuff everyone can do at the grocery store. Us personally, I did not like deer meat the first time I had it. It's very gamey. My wife has learned ways to cook it a lot better. Most of the time we're eating deer, my kids have shot, and they were skinning it, helping process it, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very proud of that fact. And with that, 3 deer usually feeds our two households, myself and my household, my in-laws' household, for the full year. And it just kind of offsets it. We don't eat it every night, but we eat it probably 3 times a week. And there's steaks, there's hamburger. But my point is, if you know people that do this, they'll sell it to you way cheaper than hamburger meat. Quickly just showing a plate and how a plate should look. And I'm going to be using this again on the first. But this is what I ate literally tonight, a few hours ago. It's broccoli, some noodles, and some steak. And when I was done eating this, I was full. I don't need to eat anything else. So that's the way it is. And that's how you save some money, by eating only what your body needs and not gorging yourself to death. And by the way, I could have eaten more if I wanted to. $4.50 is how much this plate cost me because that's all the steak cost. The broccoli was left over from 3 days ago. The noodles were left over from another meal. So technically, like, that was already planned into another meal. Trying to eat cheap. I do it all the time. I do it without even thinking about it. My wife does it without thinking about it. That's just the way we live. And I figure, why not share some of these tips? Next tip is to recycle your leftovers. Like I just showed that before I go any further with this. 2 nights ago, we cleaned everything out of the fridge, laid it all, heated it all up, laid it all on the counter, and everybody got to pick and choose what they wanted. You know, I choose the rice, I choose the leftover mac and cheese, I choose this, that, and that. That's another thing to do, is to just clear the leftovers out. What can you do with it? How can you turn it into a meal? But see, this takes advanced planning. When I buy a rotisserie chicken for $5, I'm not just spending $5 on a rotisserie chicken. I eat whatever I need to eat off of it for the meal. If my family wants some, they can have it too. They don't usually like it, so they don't eat it. Then I will do a few things with it. I will turn it into a sandwich. Now, we're going to get to the bread aspect of these things. I'm going to talk about bread. I try not to eat a whole lot of bread, but yeah, chicken salad sandwich. A chicken sandwich is pretty good. I think I gave away something, but just a little mayo and some chicken and sandwich, lettuce, whatever you want to do on it. But once you've deboned it. So you strip all of the meat off it, you debone it, and you save it for the next day. Then you can make stuff like sandwiches and stuff out of it. Another thing that's really good to make is, I just gave it away, chicken salad. Chicken salad's really easy. You just chop up however much chicken you want. You add some mayonnaise. You add celery, onions, and it's sweet relish. Just like a spoonful of sweet relish. Add a mild flavor to it. And other people want to put like cranberries in it and stuff. I'm not all about that lifestyle. Still, it's a relatively healthy meal. I think the worst thing in it is the mayonnaise, and it's really not that bad. You don't use excessive amounts. And then, of course, that could be a chicken salad sandwich. So you think about end of use for all of your items. You could also do a soup and sandwich special. Soup and sandwich special. You can turn chicken into chicken noodle soup. So generally, bouillon cubes, 2 bouillon cubes, and however much you've got, however big of a batch you want to use, 1 bouillon cube in water, 2 bouillon cubes in water, boil it, put some carrots in, some noodles, celery, whatever seasonings you would like, some parsley or something, and just cook it in there for however long that you want to do it. Now, there's different levels of it. The carrots are usually what's going to take the hardest, the longest to get soft. Some people could do stuff in crock pots. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do a lot of recipes out there, but I'm just saying these are things to plan. I want to get into private label food. Private label food is basically, it's just the food that is made by the same manufacturer for a particular company. So you can see Highland over here. I bet Highland manufactures the generic Great Value side by side. I'm guessing it, but look at the price difference. And I will say this, there will be some lower quality ingredients. There will be some differentiation, but it's not going to be half. The difference in quality is not half. The difference in price is because there's no advertising budget associated with private label brands, except for what they do internally at Walmart, Target, and all those places. I think it's like Market something or another at Target. And it's just easier to catch all the stuff at Walmart. $5.44 versus $2.57 for the milk. And like, what a massive difference. Private label. I don't buy brand name stuff when it comes to this. Ever. You look at my cart and you'd just be like, well, Mike, are you poor? Okay, yes, I'm poor. And I'm smart. There we go. There's my answer. I always buy private label brands. Since we're in the dairy area, let's go ahead and look at private label yogurt. Generally half the price. Well, actually the yogurt's a little bit closer to about 65% of the price of the regular stuff. But still, I go with this. There's a few things that you need to reevaluate when you look at this, and this is the best example. So the brand name stuff's going to be in bigger containers, and these are in smaller containers. So you do have to look at the cost per ounce on all of that, but also the fact that I really don't need to eat a whole lot of yogurt, but when I do eat yogurt, I don't need more than one of these containers. I don't need the larger containers that are name brand, and I certainly don't need to spend that level of money on it. But, 1-to-1, I still go private label for pretty much everything. Want to show bread at private label, and I guess this is going to be my last tip for now before I close this out. But I want to say bread is something I try to avoid, but it's always in my house. My kids eat sandwiches and stuff. I accidentally bought the wheat one once, not because I wanted to, because it's all they had, and I wanted some bread in the house for the kids, and I ate a sandwich with it. It didn't taste very good. And then I compared them the next time I was at the store, and they had both. And really, they're not much different. Really. The cheap wheat is not much better than the cheap white. So just might as well get the white bread. Tastes better. Now the more expensive $5 loaf wheat bread that has real grains in it does have some nutritional value to it. So it is worth the money if you're looking at it like that. Or if you're like me, very seldom eat bread, it's just not a big deal. And my kids make their sandwiches and stuff out of it. And my wife makes sandwiches out of it and stuff. We just buy the cheaper white bread. And we don't use very much bread, barely a loaf a week in my household. Let me know what you think about these tips and tricks on how to save on food. And I'm going to be making a video about health and fitness going forward so that we can enjoy our collections, enjoy our stuff, the things that we've amassed in life a little bit longer. And there's a whole lot more to that. This is actually one small aspect. So I'll zip through this again, but very, very, very fast, and more about how to eat. I'm also thinking about doing recipes, actually making a few recipes that are relatively healthy, very inexpensive, very simplistic. And some of this I talked about in here, but some of the stuff I would show it. Considering doing that going forward, if that helps anybody. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe to Deer Hanger out.